welcome to the Dirt Trail Running Podcast. My name is Michelle Hartwig, and I am your host. And it's exciting to see everybody in our waiting room, all the tailgaters waiting to hear about the awesome race this weekend. We've got crew, we've got aid station volunteers, we got first-time 100-mile runner, and we have a marathon winner here with us tonight. And let's let everybody introduce themselves now.
Hi everyone, I am Megan Veldkamp, Betty on my lap here, and for the Badger 100, I had a lot of jobs. I first did about 15 hours of volunteering at the Ornery Mule aid station in Monroe, and right into that, I paced Leah for her mile 60 through 80 overnight and into the morning. To get her through to her first 100.
All right, and I am Steph, and I had a lot of jobs as well. So I started off with Megan early in the morning at the OMR aid station in Monroe, and I worked there until kind of the late afternoon, and then I headed over to different crewed aid stations to actually coach one of my athletes to her first 100 miler, and she did finish. And then I went to sleep, and then I ran the marathon the next day, and then stayed and waited for Leah to get her 100-mile finish.
I am Elizabeth, and I had one job, and that was crewing Leah.
And I am Leah, and I ran my first 100 miler Saturday into Sunday, and it was amazing, and it was wonderful, and the experience was amazing with all the people that I had along the way.
I am Kristin, and I was on the crew with Leah too, and she specifically asked me to post social media updates to keep her mom and other people who weren't at the race updated. So I did a lot of pictures and a lot of posting over the time.
Everybody, I think I'm on yet. No.
Yeah.
I'm Kim Zahasky. For this race, my role was to crew Leah for the last 20 miles, and I kind of took a bunch of other little ones under my wing. Do a few things, but I do a lot of motivational speaking. So my job was to bring everybody's spirits up and get them to the finish.
And then Arturo's driving. He forgot to introduce himself here. He's on and driving in a car at the same time.
Yeah. So can you hear me?
Yep.
Okay. I'm Arturo Rodriquez, and my job was to sleep and pace Leah. That was my job.
So there was a lot of jobs that revolved around Leah. She was kind of a big deal for the day, and it was very, very exciting. And I mean, and she just absolutely killed it. I think we all cried a million times when we saw her throughout the day.
Yeah.
So, Leah, what did you think? Was it harder, easier, than you dreamed? Was it what you dreamed it would be?
The actual full race as in general was a
Yeah.
lot easier than I ever thought it would be physically. I never really hit a ton of problems, and I owe that 100% physically to Elizabeth, because she was my crew chief, and that girl was helping every single person everywhere she went, like anything. And what I actually really enjoy most about that is that, like, at the end when Kim would pick people up, I was actually doing fine. We kept finding tons of people from mile 80, 90 on, when I knew at that point I was way, many hours from cutoff. I knew I could crawl and barely walk in that thing, and we'd be still well before that. So watching Kim pick up people and just push them along and help them from the like side angle, they would have, like, they were using the poles and they were like this, and she had that lean. And then Drew specifically was really struggling. And I know Elizabeth was talking about that earlier, how she helped him. So I appreciate everybody very much. And I wanted to definitely say that Elizabeth is what got me through the physical part for sure. I knew every 10 miles I got to sit in a chair, and I got to sit for, 5 to 10 minutes. And then it took about a mile to get up every time. And when you feel that each 10 miles, you know what's coming, you have this certain amount to go. And if you just take that little bit of a time to help your feet go up, fix your feet, prop them up. I never changed shoes. I only changed socks, I think 3 times, short, and then my bra, and that's it. So like to have that physical aspect of the 100 not being an issue. I had more pain after my 100K last year, and I actually even PR'd my 100K distance in this 100. So I was really shocked. I think that was partially because of the type of trail that it was, being more flat. I didn't do a lot of flat training, which actually I think helped, but also physically because of Elizabeth, I think. And that's pretty much mentally. I mean, I think everybody struggles in 100, and I think that's just a given. If you don't go into it thinking you're going to struggle at all, then I don't know. Then you're going to be hit, I think, harder because you don't really know that that's going to come. But Megan specifically got me through all those absolutely awful, deep moments through the night. I never said I wanted to quit, though my mind said quit for like 5 miles straight in the middle of the night when I hit like past 100K, because it was all new mileage at that point. So, yeah.
So Elizabeth, how did you help get Leah mentally prepared, or did you have plans before the race of how you were going to manage the day and night?
I'm not sure how to answer that. Leah is mentally tough to begin with. She's intrinsically just mentally on point, I think. So I mean, I had nothing to do with that. She knew she wasn't quitting. She wasn't giving up. She knew she had her reasons why she was doing this. And I think for us, for Leah's team, going into it, knowing how tough she is already mentally and knowing what her goals were, we just had to continuously remind her and be positive. So,
Leah, what was your why of finishing this race?
It changed actually throughout the race, which is funny because you think you go into a race with a why and you come out with a different why. And I think that's the biggest thing of a 100-miler. I don't think you hit that in other race distances because you don't, maybe unless you go through the night, but until you see that second sunrise, I don't think you really know what that why is. I feel like I didn't anyways. And for me, I went in having my why, my family, and watching, I had mentioned this another time, my daughter died at birth, and I actually watched her die and come back after delivering her. And that was my biggest reason. If she can suffer through the way she was born and traumatized and all the things she's overcome, and both of my girls have tumors in their brains from different things. The other one had seizures when she was 2 and she's now 5. Knowing that they pushed through their obstacles as little babies really helped me. And that was more my why. But I think like when Kim asked me, and I think Megan might have asked me what my why was as well, when I was really struggling in the middle of the night. I think my why it was still my family, but I know that when I hit Orangeville, I fully knew if I could get out of there, I would finish, because I had 4 hours before the sweepers would be coming. But I texted my husband a few hours into that when I was really, really struggling. It was still not light out. Or I think it was just about to get light, but you couldn't see the sunrise yet. So I didn't get that beautiful picture. And I said, can you please leave? And he was like, no, you said you'd be done between, 1 and 3 or so. And again, in 100 miles, you don't really know when you're going to be done unless you go in having maybe done them before. And this was my first, and I had no idea. I don't even train on flats, and I didn't know if it was going to be better, harder, easier. I really wasn't sure. My other 50 milers and 100K were all on quite a bit of hills and stuff. So more technical as well. So when I texted him, he had to get up our kids at 6:30 or 7 and drive an hour and a half to come. And just knowing that my husband was coming there, there's no way I could quit, because I wasn't like, I don't know. In my head, I knew that the only way I was getting through that is if my family was coming at that moment, because I wasn't going to stop if they weren't there. And if they did come, that would be motivation to keep going. So that's, I guess, my why was, it became, it started with my family, but became more of the people that are important to me. I couldn't let down Kim if she had been up for 4, 5, 6 hours. You know, she said she couldn't sleep and she came at 3. Like, she knew that she was there way before we were coming. I couldn't let her down and not let her pace me. That to me is not fair. I couldn't let down Elizabeth and Arturo and Kristin, who had been pacing or crewing, and then Arturo being pacing all day, dealing with me and night. And then I couldn't let down Megan, who literally got me through those absolutely awful miles. So that's, I guess, my why.
So Megan was the lucky one to be with you during the toughest part of the race for you, which was overnight.
Yes. And I know her pretty well, but not 100%. And that's what I like. We got to really talk about friends we have in common, goals that they've had and crushed. We got to see some bats that like flew across, almost totally hit Megan. And we had just some interesting like trail things. Yeah, some things. It was fun. She helped me through a lot of that.
Megan, do you got any stories from overnight?
Yeah, well, those bats, I would say they were swooping Leah, which is why I was screaming, because I was seeing them swoop by her, but she was in the bubble. She wasn't noticing them. I might have screamed.
Just laughing.
Yeah. And I think at one point, way ahead of us on the trail in the early morning, I'm pretty sure it was a coyote crossed the trail. You know, it was far enough away that we couldn't see it really well, but there were no people around for it to be a dog. So if it was a dog, it was a feral dog. But I think it was a coyote. And honestly, like when Leah talks about those dark times, like she did it, like I could tell at a couple of points, because she's a very chatty person, so I could tell when she started to get a little bit quiet for a while that there was probably some internal things going on in her head. But I think it's really important, like she said, you know, she never vocalized those. I think that's a beauty of having a pacer with you, is that, you know, even though like she says, I don't want to let them all down. Well, of course she wouldn't be letting us down at all, but you know, it's kind of powerful to at least be thinking that at the time, because you want to put on that brave face for who you're with, right? And that helps keep you from saying those doubts out loud. Yeah, and I think at one point, you know, I could tell like as we were getting to Orangeville, there was a little bit of doubt creeping in, and I think I told her, I'm like, well, I'm 10 miles from my car, and your guys' van is like way too packed full of stuff, so I have to head back to Orangeville with or without you, so you're coming with me, whether or not you want to, because I'm not doing that walk alone.
That was the moment right there. That moment. That was the moment where all that doubt went away.
Yeah, and so it was really special. I think, you know, knowing like through the night, you're just thinking about when is that daylight. Like we were counting down the minutes until daylight, and then it was a beautiful sunrise that morning. I mean, it's such a beautiful, you know, even though the trail is just straight and, you know, green, and you know, you can't really see very much on the trail, but then you get to these spots where you turn and it's gorgeous gorgeous scenery along. You're going past these beautiful farms and through these rolling hills. And so, yeah, that sunrise in the morning with the mist going over the farms and the Wisconsin barns were totally worth putting through the night to get to see that. It was great.
Did the daylight energize you, Leah?
Not at first. Because it took a good hour for that to even, like, and I know Megan knows this, it would like, because she was with me, it would like get light and then it would just like be hazy and hang out. And I'm like, so where's the sun? Not that I expected it to come up super quick, but I don't think I expected it to take an hour. And so I didn't even notice when it did. And then Megan was like, oh my gosh, look. And I was like, oh my, like it was that moment. I think, cause I think that was what, 75 or 72, I don't know, 70 something miles in. So again, well over what I had ever completed in my life. So seeing that sunrise, and not even the sunrise, but seeing the sun, like it was orange and yellow, like it was so many different colors. I don't know that I've ever appreciated a sunrise in my life more. So that energized me.
And Leah, I heard that your daughter wrote you a letter to read during the race. Can you tell us about that?
Do I remember it? That's the problem. I don't remember a lot of stuff on that day. I actually didn't even read the letter from my husband yet, because it was in my pack the whole time and I forgot where it was. So I need to read that. But I do think I remember her saying, I love you. Do you guys remember? I'm sorry. Does somebody, who was I with that when I read that letter?
I remember part of it that she was like, you can do this. And if anybody tells you you can't, you tell them to talk to me. And I can't remember the rest other than like, you're brave and so strong and you can do this. And
yeah. And they were sending
I think she said something. Yeah, I think she also said something about if you can help me through, or what, all the stuff that you've helped me through, you can do anything or something. I don't know. I have to find it. I don't even remember what she wrote, but I know she definitely she's at a hard age, you know, she's a preteen and all those emotions and the flooding and you know, and seeing role models like from everybody, but also parents, it's hard. I mean, the 5-year-old, she's just, when's mommy gonna come? She sat at the bottom of the steps for the last mile waiting to dart at me, and then the two of them came, you know, flooding me, and I was like, stop, don't touch mommy, I have like a quarter mile left and I don't want to fall over because I won't get back up. So hers was a little different, but I think because Cheyenne is going to be 11 in a month ish, she knows about this stuff, right? She's a soccer player. I'm her manager. You know, she's been running. She ran some 5Ks with me. She gets this stuff. She gets running a lot more with me and she gets very excited. So I think when she said, I think what she wrote in her letter also, it was like, you're not just doing this for you, you're doing it for us. And you know that we're coming. So just keep going. And I think I read that at an aid station where I was struggling. So it was the perfect timing, actually.
What did they have anything to say? Like, can they really comprehend what you did?
No. And I was going to say, actually, I was crying through the letter. Okay. So I think the reason why I was struggling I just want to say this real quick was, part of the times I would see little kids sleeping on grandma's lap. And I can't do that because I promised myself I wouldn't, multiple things. I would not quit in the night, which is what I told Megan. I refused to let myself do that. If I was going to quit or give up or something, it had to be something out of my control. Like I physically couldn't go on. The blisters, I mean, I had a toe blister from mile 10 on. Blood, like it's bad and it's still bad, but it just, it's still there and it's not going away, but it's going to heal and those things heal and you can get through that. I didn't have any injuries. So I was like, I'm not going to like stop unless something actually either cut off or physically I can't, and I'm not quitting in the night. So with the girls, knowing that they were coming and that letter was there, I think that was a lot more helpful because I would see kids throughout the race and I couldn't handle that because I needed to get in and out of aid stations because I miss my kids so much. It's one thing to be away from your kids for, you know, a day at work or a trip or something. But to be away from your kids for a day and a half, if not, well, more like 2 full days, running, you know, it's not a selfish thing, but it makes you sometimes feel selfish if you're missing your children and you're missing that family time. They've sacrificed years of, you know, me training 35 ultras and marathons in the last, you know, 3.5 years, almost 4 years. They've, you know, sacrificed a lot of time with me, and as well as my husband, or I've, you know, taken that time away from them sometimes to train. So I think for them, it was more, you know, this is a goal and you can accomplish this. And seeing children that were not mine, was like, I need to get out so I can get to my kids, you know, and keep moving so I can see mine at the end. They're my motivation. And then all those emotions were insane at the end. But as far as my girls now, they haven't said anything. They're confused on why I'm not moving from the couch. And why I'm walking weird. I think they are, I think my youngest is like, I think you can, like, it's like when you have a new baby in the house or you have like a new animal, they're like, what? Ooh, I don't know what's going on. Like, it's that sense of like, is mommy okay? Or is she just like, what's going on? So my youngest, my 5-year-old, she starts kindergarten in a couple weeks, and she'll be full day instead of half days. And it's a big deal. It's my first time as a mom that I'm going to have both kids in full school. It's interesting. And it starts in 3 weeks, but so good timing to rest now before that. But so she came up and she tried to like jump on me, and I was like, whoa, oh no, we can't do that. And then she would like kind of walk near me, and I have all these blisters. So I was like, just come here. And she sensed that I was like in pain, but I was like, it's not like, I'm not hurt. So I think the pain and hurt level for kids is not as easy to understand when they're younger like that. Obviously Cheyenne has seen me do these races and gets it. But Skyly, you know, it was like, are you okay? So I hugged her, and then she, you know, went and did some other things, and we were fine. But they're happy. I think in the moments that we finished after the race, because I got to grab my little baby's hand, my little kid's hands. I'm not sure where Kim went. I have no idea, because I saw her, and then my kids they darted to, I thought they were going to hit me. And I was like, no, like, don't.
I just didn't want to be in all your pictures.
Yes. And then I was like,
like,
Kim, did you run up the steps and like go by everybody?
Yeah, I just diverted off when you went through the tunnel, through the final part.
Okay, so over the bridge. Okay, because I went over the bridge, and the best part about this race is you go over, you go around, you go down. I knew when I got to that point, I was like, it's almost there, and then my watch died. But I went down through, and then I went over the bridge, and then I saw them darting down the stairs, or the hill, super fast, and then they grabbed my hands, and then we slowly, you know, went up to the steps. And those steps at the end, when you can barely move, are like, I literally like hold myself up the steps, and then got up to the top, and then we held hands, and we ran around and into the finish line. And they just were so excited. I think for them, they were a part of the experience that way. And I know that I love to see them before and after, not during, because that just gives me a reason to want to stop. For me, everybody's different. Some people need their kids to get them to keep moving. I need my kids to be the motivation at the end to keep going. So when I brought them in with me, I think that was their excitement. And now, you know, it's just the next day and we move on. That's just how kids work, you know?
You know what was really funny though, Leah, is that like us, we were sitting kind of like down below the hill, so we couldn't see if you were coming or not. So we're trying to get like updates from like Kim and everybody. And I was like asking, like, let us know when she gets to the bench outside of town, you know, so that we had perspective. I had to take a while to get out from my chair. But like we saw your kids like standing right at the top of the stairs, and it was like, you know, when we see the kids dart, we know it's time.
Yeah.
And it was so great seeing that.
That moment is just, I haven't thought about it yet. That was hard. Like I've never felt those emotions in my life. I've seen my kids dart at me in races before, shorter distances, like way shorter marathons and halves. But again, they weren't at my 50 mile. I was in a different state, one of them. And then the other 50 miler and 100 Ks and 15 hour, those were all self-supported or not with them. So this was such a different, and it's 100 miles, unfathomable somehow, but obviously can be done and was. But the fact that they came down and I saw them and they were so like the energy that we all have as adults is amazing, but the energy that comes from kids who just like unconditional love for their parent is like, even when we fail them at times, and even when, we yell and we get upset, like to see their faces and they just were like, that was their moment as well as mine. And that was what brought me the most joy, is like knowing, I didn't even know where my husband was, but I found out he was taking all the pictures because he is a forensic investigator. So he does he's a professional photographer for his job. So when he, came in and was taking all the pictures and we came through, I was like, oh yeah, hug this person, all my team and all my crew. And I knew in my head who I had to hug. And I was like, oh my gosh, my husband. And that moment that we were all together as a family of four, that's when what I had just done was actually like magnified, and it became real. Not necessarily when I crossed the finish line, but in that moment, because it was the four of us. It's not just you guys, and everybody knows this, but it's a team effort. It's not just one person going 100 miles. It's the experience of the crew, the team, the pacers, the family, all the people who do the sacrifices behind the runner, and that's what I love about this community.
Yeah, the team effort is amazing. Just think of all the volunteers at the aid stations that were up for so many hours. Elizabeth getting that amazing, thing that she toted around with everything to care for everybody on course, and just so many people, working to help somebody reach their dreams. And then it inspires us to want to do stuff too. And it makes us happy. We get a lot of satisfaction, seeing those moments. I know that you get a lot of support from the Trail Sisters, and there was I heard from Kristin about a chain. You want to talk about that a little bit, Kristin?
Oh, so the Trail Sisters Waukesha. And Trail Sisters Waukesha actually started 2 years ago after people in the area heard about the Trail Sisters at the 10 Junk Mile race. I know Jen Collins and Andrea, and I think Jen and Leah did one of the races.
We did the 50K in 2019, and Jen specifically said she wanted to start a chapter because there wasn't one locally. And that is how, from that race, when we did that whole 50K together at Badger, that was when she started it.
Going through the night, as you're starting to tell that Leah was starting to struggle a little bit, I was messaging with Kristin, and one of the things that I found can really help push people and pacing them. I think Steph and I pulled this out for Kim when she did her 100 last year. I pulled out a little bit when I paced Robert for his 200 this year, is to start pulling up social media and reading some of the comments that people are leaving on posts, on updates. And so, I started to read some of those to Leah, and I was messaging Kristin saying, if you can get a hold of the husband, I think it really would help her to know that he's, he's there. And if we could, get any more shout outs. And Kristin said, well, we can start a chain in Trail Sisters. And so she posted to the Trail Sisters group saying, hey, Leah's out there. She really needs that boost. And they just started flooding in on this chain. So I was able to pull out the phone and just start reading through them. And we were both in tears so fast.
Absolutely. Too. I mean, even in the last 20 miles, people were still posting. So, pardon me. But so I was still reading them even through the last bit of it. I mean, people were just so stinking supportive.
Yeah, exactly. When Kim and I did the handoff to each other, I said, okay, I read through these comments here. You know, this is where you can start. Pull these out when she needs that boost. And it's just such a great community to be able to help, you know, to help in any little way, right? Someone sitting on their couch or having their coffee in the morning basically is able to help, you know, push a runner to the finish line.
Well,
It was
and
amazing too, because since I was posting on mine and tagging her and everyone else helping, you would get people popping in like, Leah, I don't even know you, but this is so inspiring. I've been watching you all night. Like, you've got this, like, I believe in you. And just all the comments from people that were trail sisters and friends of friends. And it was just amazing. Everybody was just following it like throughout the past 2 days, just like on the edge of the seat, waiting for her to come in the next aid station to see like the next checkpoint.
Yeah. And I'm trying to remember, Leah, which friend of yours posted, but there was one post that really got to us because they brought up your kids. And she's like, oh, she did the low blows. We're falling because, you know, it brought that family aspect to her again.
And then every time she saw a blonde little girl, she started crying. She's like, my babies, you look like my babies. It was so sweet.
it was so close to the end.
So many blonde babies out there. Just like everybody was a blonde little girl.
Yes. I remember, Kim, when you read, like you guys, when Megan handed off to you, and you started reading some stuff about, you know, you'd be like, this person, okay, and then you say this name, and I'm like, these are people that like I know or know of, or I'm not super close with, but they come out when it's necessary and when, you know, you need it, and it's beautiful and amazing. And you had friends that I didn't know that would say things on it, and then I remember distinctly something, who knows what that was, but I distinctly remember something got me motivated. And I was like, at that moment, I was pushing a faster pace at 92 or 3 than I had all day. So, I mean, you have to realize that like sometimes in things like this, it's not necessarily even about, what's going on at a moment, because at any moment's notice it can change. And Megan made that clear, which I loved, through again, because I don't think I struggled necessarily as much with Kim because I was through the sun. I still was like struggling, but like it wasn't dark, like, so and she beautifully got me through that with all the sensory journeys we went on and the motivation, because I'm a motivational person too, like motivational speaker too, so like I get the sensory journey and I love that stuff. So that kind of like got me through. But when I was struggling in the night and Megan specifically said, you know, like this person said this or this person said that, it like it was like, okay, what else can I think about in the dark when nothing is going on? And then I watched my mom and dad's video, and I watched you know, Emily played a hymn for me. My friend Cassie said got a video going from a bunch of different trail sisters and made a music video with it in the background. My friend Emily's husband was like, Leah, Mama Mia, something. And then he would send a video at like 99 and doing so fine. I don't know. He was just being goofy. And like, then I got a video that came through of my youngest saying, well, I got this earlier, but this is another thing that was a video that I gotten where she like went at the end, and I watched it. I think I was with Megan at the time. Again, I don't remember sometimes which parts of were where, but when I watched it like 3 times where she would say, I love you, mommy, keep going, you're doing amazing, blah blah blah, I'll see you in the morning, or I'll see you tomorrow. And that was just like so motivational, because I knew I would see her. When it would be, I didn't know, but I knew I would see her again. Like it just picked me up. And she went, Mwah, I love you, mommy, good night. And she was naked, so of course, you know, that's just her thing. And then she went in her door and closed it, and I was like, okay. And I just like kept going back like 5 seconds, and I did that like 3 or 4 times. And it's crazy how just like something like that, something different, something, a scenery, something unique, like in 100 miles, you have that kind of time, if you don't have the cutoff to worry about necessarily, to be able to look at your phone and read messages. Like my mom was like, I don't want to message you because it's so late. And I'm like, Mom, I'm running and walking through the night. I have my phone with me. it's actually motivational, and lots of people did that. And then my husband sent a couple of videos that he's like, if you can put up with my craziness, he's like, I know you're crazy, but if you can put up with my insane craziness and my anxiety, you know, you can do anything. And I started laughing, and I was like dying. I'm like, that was a pick me up, you know, like those are the small little things that support the Trail Sisters, support all my crew and pacers, and just even random volunteers at aid stations, or all the aid station people and other runners even that would be at an aid station who would just, like Megan knows one of those guys. It's just, she's like, you better get up, Leah. He ain't gonna stop. He's got all the time in the world, but you need to keep going.
That's fantastic.
One other, so aside from all the messages, can we talk about Arturo's burrito delivery service?
Oh yeah.
Uh-huh.
I don't know,
That
Elizabeth and
was
Kristin,
the
how did
prank
that
at
even,
the
like,
end.
It's Elizabeth's
Michelle
fault.
thought of.
Elizabeth's fault.
What?
Well, when he came back from running the burrito tour, Michelle's like, we should tell him to run down the other way, that somebody needs his help. And immediately he's just like, all right, where's my pack? Let's go. Like totally ready to go down like wherever else. And we're like, no, we're joking. You're good. Like, relax.
Yeah, because we
But we
pulled
woke
him
him
out of
up
sleep.
to do it too. We woke him up to go run to her.
Are you serious? I
He
didn't know
was
that
sleeping.
He
He was sleeping all
He
the
didn't-
time.
Yeah,
Oh
I knew
my
he
gosh.
was sleeping in the car at Orangeville. I was like,
No,
what the heck's
he's
going on? He's sleeping.
I think he slept like 8 hours. Like, I don't know how he sleeps everywhere. He can
Yeah.
sleep anywhere. If you look,
This is funny.
people who weren't even in our crew have pictures of him sleeping in a chair all over the trails.
I can't even imagine. I just saw.
It's
I
like
knew you guys had him
amazing
sleeping.
and frustrating at the same time. You're like, how does he do it? That's why we didn't care about waking him up at that point. We're like, oh my God, we just gotta.
Well, you were annoyed because you wanted to sleep. You're like, get your butt moving. You can
Well,
sleep
I
anywhere.
actually got to sleep a little because Megan gave me her van keys at a point, and I curled up
You
in
did
her
say
van.
that.
But Elizabeth was up like the entire time,
Exactly.
and
Elizabeth.
everybody stole her blankets. Like even when she
That's
wanted
what
to
we were
try
more
to sleep.
upset about.
No.
We weren't upset so much about the sleeping. It was more about stealing the blanket.
He only took one. That random guy at Orangeville took the other. But you're too nice and let him have it for a while. Like she helped
She was
every
so
runner
nice
on the trail
at
she came
mile
across.
70. Elizabeth, the stuff you did at mile 70, I can't even begin to talk about. Like, to see what you were doing. Like, what I loved is that, like, if I wasn't struggling, which was quite often in an aid station, I was fine because I was sitting in a chair eating. But I would see, like, this guy was struggling on the course, or this guy was at an aid station really struggling, in the way that all of you guys, but especially Elizabeth, crew chief, the way that you just did what you did with those runners and how you helped them. And I remember once I was like, I need something, and she's off doing this for this guy and this guy. I'm like, hey, Kristin, can you grab it? Because, like, that's what she did all the time. She was constantly just like, go, 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 go. Like, let me help, let me do. And that was, to me, so incredibly motivational. It was beautiful.
Very bossy.
It was so beautiful. So thank you.
We do have some questions coming in. I want keep the questions coming in, and don't be frustrated because I know it's taking us a little time to get to them. But I wanted to. So Shanna Stangler is asking.
Shayna.
What's that?
Shayna.
Jaina? It says
Shayna.
Shanna.
Shayna.
Oh, Shayna. Okay, Shayna. Shayna Stangler. Okay, so she's asking Leah to share a little bit about her running history.
Okay. I started running at 24. I lost 140 pounds and then did a 5K. I immediately fell. I had a side ache. My foot fell asleep. I couldn't walk at the end. I was like 250 pounds. And I just was like really struggling in the heat. And then I was like, all right, I love running. When am I going to sign up for the next? And so I did, 10K half. And then I stuck with the half distance once a year, Brewers half. for about 7 years. I always trained for it. I'd always, just wanted to get a little bit better, each year. I just did that 3 months of training each year. And then I did other things throughout the rest of the year. And I didn't really get serious about like racing because again, I just would do the Brewers Half because I loved it. And I'm in Milwaukee, it's my city. And I always, I did it because I enjoyed it. And I was like, all right, let's try a marathon. I mean, I have 2 kids now. My youngest is 1. I'm done having babies. Let's try, let's see what it feels like. And then I started training when she was about 1.5 years, and no, about a little over a year. And I finished my first lakefront marathon when she was almost 2. And that moment was just so beautiful that I could involve my family with running. And I actually fell so much in love with, particularly when I did that marathon, that I did another marathon 5 weeks later. And I was so excited. I was bored. I was jumping cones, and I was like finding dirt little trails to like pass by at Lakefront Marathon, which there are side trails. By the way, if you get sick of the road, and I was actually probably faster on the trail because it was softer. And that I did Madison Marathon, and then I was like, oh, I really like this. And then I heard of this 50K, and I was like, I don't know what that is. Okay, cool. What is that? A little further than a marathon? I don't know. Sure. I mean, you jumped from a half to a full. What's an extra 5 miles? So it was in my hometown of Kewaskum. It was called Lunatics. Megan did it too. I think 3 years ago.
Yeah,
it was
2018.
Okay, so 3 years ago. Okay, I'm like, I don't even know. And I finished that. I trained all of my life. I had never done a trail race in my life. I had never done anything related to trail running. And I was like, I got 4 months to train. Let's do this trail 50K. It was a small race local to my hometown. Exciting me. Somebody posted it actually in a group, and I got really excited, and I was like, all right, cool. Let's check it out. And it was so amazing and so beautiful an experience. I know Megan probably can attest to this. It was so amazing. They gave us like personalized, and we talked about this in the middle of the night miles yesterday. They gave us like, I know Natasha had like, I don't know if it was Swiss cake rolls or what, I think those are her things. I don't know. And I wanted nutty bars, and then Elizabeth got me chips and nutty bars, and that nutty bar, whenever I had that in the middle of the night, was amazing. But I know that it was so wonderful that I was like, all right, we need to sign up for another one. And that was where I just started going to 50Ks a bunch, and then jumped to a 50 mile and 100K, and then decided I wanted to keep going when I finished the 100K last summer, self-supported, but with friends around just running with me. But I did my own things. I had an aid station in my car, so I grabbed all my stuff and changed all the things. And I think that just having that was like, I want to keep going. I can keep going. I want to go through the night and see the sunrise that people mentioned. That was when I was, from that moment on, I was like, okay, I'm going to do 100 next year, but I don't want to do it this year. I was actually way more trained last year for this. And with the injury that I went through a few months ago, I couldn't even walk at all for a while. And right after a 50K I'd done in April. So I went and got PT, dealt with the injury, took off 3 weeks, and then came back at about end of May. So I had, 2 months to fully train up for it again. And that helped. But I think that's my running history. And now I've done, like I said, it's like 34 or 35 marathons and ultras in the last like 3.5 years. And I'm ready to take a break now. So
that's really good. I'm also getting questions about your nutrition during the race. Did it change, or what was your plan for it?
So no, everything was on point. I had the best crew and pacers helping me with that. I made it clear. So Elizabeth did not say this, but she's being very humble when she was talking, which is awesome, but she needs to take some credit here. This woman is just so amazing, as all of you are, but she specifically, we talked for like 2 hours one day, 2 hours another day, just about when it gets hard, what are you going to do? When you, do we pop blisters? When you want to quit? Like, it's insane. Like she's crewed many 100-milers in the last, and I know a few of you a few of you have also done this. But she just was like so on top of that. She wanted to know, because again, the person I was supposed to originally have, crew also along with them, like she isn't able to. So it's like, we had to get to know each other and get to know, which we did know each other. And we have a wonderful, beautiful, amazing connection, but we had to like get to know the style of running and the nutrition and what food and nutrition works. And that is so incredibly like different for each person. So for me, fruit works really well. And so does, peanut butter and jelly, which I don't know if I even had any because I had grilled cheeses. But the nutrition with my electrolytes, my water, my electrolytes, my hydrate, and then my food intake was very consistent. She would message whoever I was running with at the time, what does Leah want to eat? And I'd be 5 miles from an aid station, which could be hours from then if I was walking real slow in the middle of the night, as Megan knows. What would you like? And I would say this, and then I was like, that doesn't sound good at all, but that's what maybe sounded good in the moment. And I've never had a burger in a race, or and bread I found is not really good for me to eat. It was so good, that burger with that ketchup. It was yeah, at mile 70 when like I was like done, like right, that was the perfect time for a burger. But I specifically think, yeah, you missed it, Arturo, you were sleeping. But you missed me eating that burger.
I'll sleep right now on that couch.
Yep. But yeah, so my nutrition was on point. And then Kim just kept, oh my gosh, at the end when you like don't want to eat anything, I feel like even though I was still eating, you don't want to eat a lot of like big stuff. My nutrition with my applesauce, my go-go squeeze, yes, that's what works for me. I've gotten through many 50Ks on go-go squeeze alone and nothing else in the middle of like winter races. Like I did a couple 50Ks or a 50K in a marathon, I'm sorry, 1 year, and then 2 years ago in the winter where food just to me was not appealing. It just chew and like hard, it was too much. So applesauces go down real easy for me and they work very well. So I know that's a go-to. And specifically with Kim at the end of the race, or not the end, but the last 9 miles of the race, she's like, okay, an orange slice. Okay, a watermelon. Okay, little bits of it. And she would just keep handing them to me. And I was like, oh, okay, throw the next one. And like that, and then a salt tab. And, like these things that like, as I needed them, there they were. And I think up till that point, you have to really make it a conscious effort to eat at aid stations, even if you don't want to, because there could be hours between them. There were a couple 7.25 mile stretches that were tough, and there were a couple like 5.7 and 5.7 might not seem like a lot at the moment, but when you only have one aid station and 11.5 miles and it's through the night, you have to eat and sit down and spend a little bit of time fully digesting what you're doing before you keep moving on. I knew I had, 4 hours at that point till the Pacers were they were going to come to sweep. And I was like, 30 minutes, you are allowed that. You can change your shorts. You can go to the bathroom. You can sit down in the chair, close your eyes for like 30 seconds, which I did. I knew I refused to take a nap. I told Elizabeth that from the beginning as well. And then, keep moving on. But I did have a lot of the nutrition on point throughout. And then between aid stations, if I did feel hungry, which is important, I think very crucial to know, especially with a 100-miler, you do not get down on your nutrition. And I knew if I was happy or if I was eating, I was happy. Everyone was like, you were so happy throughout the race. And I'm like, I owe that 100% to food and to the people around me, because the minute I had, it was like an instant, the applesauce, instant, like sugar. Oh my God, what? The carbs, like I don't normally, eat applesauce on a regular basis, but those, and then the Fireball and the Coke shots. We did a little ducky with Megan when I was at 75, and I was fully like, I'm going to stop at 80. I'll just see him and say, bye, hi, I'm done. Like my mind was fully like, I'm out. And I went and I sat on the chair and I picked up a duck. and it said it was either Malort, whatever that is called. I don't even know what it is, but I don't know. I don't like it. I don't trust it. I don't know what it is. It's brand new to me. It was either that or Fireball. And I was like, Fireball. And I was like, yes, I'll have it. She's like, do you want Fireball instead? I was like, yes, I do. You knew I was going to ask for that. So I had Fireball and Coke, and boom, picked me up, and I was fine then. It's crazy how
they
that
went
works.
easy on her because she did pick a Malort duck. I
did.
like Malort personally. I was not gonna do that to her. Like let's go with the Fireball instead.
Yeah, what if I would have thrown up?
Yeah, you probably would have been they were nice. I will say, like, pacing, I was like, usually food is one of those things that you really struggle as a pacer to get your runner to do. Like, I was very impressed. Leah sat in the chair and said, all right, give me all the food. she would eat, and that helps so much. She's really fortunate that she's got the tummy that can do that, because it makes your race go so much better.
Well, you saw my stomach. I had a bra on for the last, 50 miles? You could see my stomach was so distended. Like when I came into the finish line, I was like, so I had a major skin, 16 inches cut across my stomach, major skin removal, abdominal and muscle repair a year and a half ago. And the recovery from that was so much worse than this has been. And I remember not being able to walk or do anything for days. So I know my stomach cannot get bigger because I don't have the ability with the way that they got rid of the fat in there. So when I had that muscle repair done, when I felt my stomach come out, I was like, you guys, I can't eat or drink anymore. So I remember indistinctly, Megan, you helped with this. I was like, Megan, do I drink or do I drink any hydrate or water? What do I do? I'm swelling in my fingers terribly. I always swell, it's normal. But I felt like it might have been too much, and it was not okay at that point. And so I was like, what do I do? It's the middle of the night. She's like, maybe you've been eating and drinking a lot. Maybe hold off on, the water a little. And that helps so much too. And then I stopped peeing like every 5 minutes.
Yeah, that was the thing, because of course the pace went down and the temperatures are cooler at night, and I don't know what it was. It was you and I both. It was like every mile we had to pee.
You peed on the left side. Then
I think we're good on the hydration at the moment.
You got to tell them what I did though, Megan. Where did I pee?
Oh, yeah. She did pee on the state line.
Illinois. Took a picture.
Hey, I'm
She's
from
like,
Illinois.
well, no, but that's where it was. Like we were on the other side. We were on the Illinois border. So she's like, "Oh, you're paying on the state line," and I was like, "Hey,
two
okay."
states at the same time.
Nice.
It's fun.
That's awesome. So Elizabeth, you haven't talked much. I think we want to hear some more from you. And I agree with Leah that you're being very humble about what you did on race weekend. Why don't you share a story about your favorite person that you shared, or maybe somebody can point at or share that you helped their race get better? Because I kept hearing triumphant stories of you. Does anyone want to choose a favorite for her to share on if she doesn't share?
Drew.
Yeah, Drew Donuts.
Let's hear it.
You could tell him about why he's Drew Donuts, but
I think you would tell that story better.
well, you were there for the thing too. Well, the reason is we met him way early in the day, before you even saved. I swear you saved his race at the end when we saw him at Orangeville, because everybody was sleeping at Orangeville. Like, a lot of the crew, like people came in, but he had his crew who was coming with him. I think her name was Chris or something.
It was Chris.
She was trying to help him and stuff and dragging him through, but like the Orangeville aid station was like very, like everyone was sleeping on tables. There were runners sleeping everywhere.
Oh, wow.
It was really quiet, the middle of the night, everyone exhausted, and a really slow aid station. And she had been trying to drag him through what she could do. And we had met him way earlier in the day, and he looked a little rough when we saw him at Hollywood, but not nearly before. And Like he saw this empty box of Dunkin' Donuts and they kept trying to feed him pizza and whatever other things they had for food. And he glances like, are those donuts?
Aw.
And I forget what he said but what his face and what he said when they told him that they had an extra box of donuts and gave him a donut. Like he was like, this is like magic. Like it was like giving a little kid an ice cream cone. He was so happy.
Yeah.
So then every time we saw him, we would see him coming in and be like, donuts, hey. And like it took a while till we figured out his name even.
Yeah, I think sometimes you don't want to meddle with someone's race, you know. You want them to just do their thing. He came in and I think the first box that he saw, the Dunkin' Donuts box, I think. And I think it was empty. And he looked just crushed by that. I mean, you see Dunkin' Donuts and you're like, yes. And then you see that it's empty and you're like, no. And then I think it was Holly maybe. And she's like, oh, we have a fresh box, and brought it over to him. And it was magic.
Aw.
And he was back in the game. I mean, he was so happy. But yeah, at Orangeville, that was what, mile 70 at the turnaround. Yeah. And it was pretty gloomy for a lot of people. But he was there. I don't know what his core temp was, but he was shaking uncontrollably. His clothes were wet. His feet were a mess. He didn't have any extra clothes, any warm clothes, any dry socks. I don't know how long it had been since he'd eaten. It could have been that donut back at, I don't know, mile 40. I don't know. But yeah, we just fixed him up. We got him some blankets and got him some hand warmers, got him a couple buffs, put him on his head to keep some heat in. I actually put my body on him at one point. And then we let him sleep for a little bit. Trying to think what else we did for him.
You got him to eat a burger at some point.
Yes, he ate a burger. He was pretty happy about that too. Then I came back to check on him and I asked, did you eat some of that burger? And he said, oh, I had a burger and then a half of another one. It was like all of a sudden he was ready to go. And his friend Chris was there and she was gonna pace him, and he was, yeah. So I think, yeah, that Orangeville was a tough one. People were, that was a hard place to be. Yeah, I don't know.
It's amazing because like at the end when we saw him, we probably saw him at mile 90 about, and then we did about 10 miles with him and his team. And you wouldn't have been able to tell that he was in that rough a shape, you know, that long ago. So I think that it says something to the waves you go through and the help you need and the waves you go through in a race like this, and to keep that in the top of your mind of like, I'm going to hit this point, but you bounce back. It's possible to bounce back. Yeah. And because if I wouldn't have known, I didn't know he struggled like that when I saw him. He seemed kind of emotional because he was thinking about his son, and we were talking about his why. We made some videos, but you couldn't tell by looking that he struggled that bad. But that's really part of this journey, is getting through that hard low point and remembering there is an uphill again, you know, a good one.
Elizabeth, I really don't want to put you on the spot. I hope you're not going to be mad at me. But I think that everybody kind of knows that you're signed up for 100. And I'm wondering if you know, like, personally, I think you learn a lot to get ready for running 100 by volunteering and crewing in 100. What have you learned to get yourself ready?
And
also, who's going to crew her?
Okay. Sure. So I'll start with the easy part.
Okay.
Right now, my crew is Jim Arnold.
Ooh.
Yay.
I think y'all probably knew that. And then potentially Ryan Maines. And then Pacers. I don't want to say their names.
That's fine.
But crew is Jimmy. Yeah, so that's who I have for crew.
You're going to have great hair.
So
Right.
comb
Sorry.
your hair at every aid station.
Yeah.
He's gonna have great hair. I'm not gonna have great hair. That's okay. So yeah, so I think so really okay, so I'll answer the question, but I've been going to a few different races and have crewed for people. This might come out the wrong way, but I don't mean it in any way to be offensive, but I'm very selective with who I want to work with. The persons or the people that I've worked with have taught me a lot about the human condition and how to run a race. And I don't want to get emotional. And I don't like being put on the spot, Michelle, but I love you. So I've gone to races to volunteer at aid stations. I've gone to races to learn about courses. I've gone to races to just be supportive of others. And I think a lot of that is because in my life, I've had few people show up for me authentically. So that's why I wanted to do it. So I think I hope that it's going to help. I've never run 100 miles. But we'll see. We'll see how it goes.
Well, I think that a lot of people will show up for you, and it is, I mean, I can't say enough about how much you show up for everybody in the running community and how much you're appreciated.
Thank you.
We love you so much, and we could not have done that without you.
Yeah.
Just need to get emotional, please do. You need to know how important you are and how you got me through that. That's it. I love you.
Thank you for the
Love you
blanket.
too, Leah.
You mean stealing it?
Kind of. I mean, it was nice and warm.
Yeah, that one was a good one. What's that?
Don't tell her that. She didn't get it. You stole it from her.
Well, and then I had 2 blankets, and so I had gotten the second one out at Orangeville because somebody needed it, right? And then of course after you come in, Leah, and we've helped you and you're on your way, and we're like, yes, let's get to Monroe. We were all super excited to get to Monroe, and we're about 2/3 of the way there. And I'm like, we gotta go back to Orangeville. I left my blanket there.
Oh no.
And I had just said I never want to go back to Orangeville because it was so doomy and gloomy. And I'm like, we're never going back to that place. And of course, I eat my words, we go back. And as we're pulling in, I'm like, now mark my words. Someone's going to be snuggled up with that blanket.
Yep.
And someone won't. And I was the meanie who took it from them.
I gave him a good 20 minutes.
I gave it, yeah. In my defense, I wasn't.
He needed to hit the road anyway at that point. He was sitting too long at the
20 minutes,
Yeah.
buddy, it's time to go.
Exactly.
Yeah.
All right.
Well, we should.
How come you didn't have anything with you?
I know.
He didn't nothing. He didn't
Yeah,
pack
that's why.
anything.
Nothing.
That's why I went to sleep.
It was in his car at
I was
Belleville
cold
at the finish.
after running with Leah.
What?
You know,
It
I'm
was
a guy.
cold.
You're
Yeah,
no,
I'm a
you
guy.
had no clothes. You didn't
No.
have a wallet, no
It was
blanket,
in
you had
Belleville.
nothing.
He didn't even have his phone with him.
I
I was
know.
like,
No.
can you just text my husband or no? Can you just text Elizabeth quick? He goes, didn't bring my phone. I'm like,
Yeah.
my watch died and I'm like auto saved. I'm like, I lost 2 miles on my watch. It said 54. I lost 2 miles after that. And then it restarted, had to start again. And then it died a half mile from the finish. So I'm like, well, there goes my 100 mile. And then I had the last 0.48 on my Strava. I was like, let's just put it on my phone because obviously the thing died before I made it to the finish line. And I was like, he doesn't even have his phone with him.
Well, we asked him before he ran out with you. We're like, what do you want from your car for when you're done pacing? He's like, nah, I'm good. And like, we're like, he's such a guy. He left
All the
everything
behind the scenes footage that you
Yeah.
don't see.
I mean, yeah.
But
Well, we
Orangeville,
got it,
I do know that, like you said, Orangeville was really gloomy. I like totally felt that way about me, but not about the aid station. But then I think that's because the people that were there, like I saw people just like hanging out and like really quietly just keeping to themselves. And I can see why it's gloomy because it's literally, like I said, 11.4 miles and you get that one little aid station and it's the farthest point you can go. And you're like, okay, great. Now I get to go back, except it's not like you're just going back 5, 10 miles, 15 miles, 20 miles. You're doing another 50K back and you're going back the same way, but it's so far away because it's nighttime and there's only like a couple people there and it's the middle of the night. And I think that was the main point of it being like seemingly gloomy, but I think everybody, you know, was like helping different people and cheering them up and that was fun. So that's the reason why I think the aid station felt so gloomy. It's so far away from everything else.
And
All
then,
right.
yeah, let's move on. I want to talk about Steph's race. And so the marathon started on Sunday. And Steph, when she introduced herself, she was very humble. She didn't mention that she won the race.
Mhm.
So
We're there.
congratulations on
Wow.
that. And she won it after like 20 hours of volunteering on Saturday. I know she helped Adam unload on Friday, set up aid stations. So it wasn't exactly a taper to the race, but you know, so I know she's not going to brag on that. That's the reason I'm bringing that stuff up. So, Steph, how did your race go? Tell us a little bit about that.
I actually thought I was going to go pretty bad after all of that because it's like I was trying to be conscious of like my time on feet on like the previous 2 days, but then I was like, screw it. It's going to happen. Like I'm going to be on my feet. So like I had like signed up for it because I was like, I'm not wanting to do like a long distance if I'm going to go out and like support people and volunteer. So I'll just like sign up for like a shorter distance on Sunday. And I like went back and forth about like what distance that would be because like they had the half, they had the marathon, and then they had the 50K, and the 50 miler all went off on Sunday. So I was just like debating with Megan for like 2 weeks or something like that. Just like, oh, I don't know which one. Like 50K is like, oh yeah, that's an ultra, and then like I don't want to do a marathon because like I remember just I have such problems with the marathon distance when there's a 50K. I'm like, why would I do that? But my marathon PR has laid on its side since like 2017. It's like, come and get me. And I was like, I don't know if I want to put in that kind of work, you know, because I know like what kind of effort and what kind of shape I was in at the time. I was in very good shape to PR a marathon the time that I did it, but I did it in November, and that is not a good weather time for me. And I'd been looking for like races in the summer that might be like fit the bill, and I just couldn't. And I was like, yeah, but it's rail trail and it'll slow me down. And I made all these excuses. And then I just sucked it up and signed up for it. And I was like, well, I'll give it a shot. And then you find out that it's over 27 miles. It's not just a marathon, because they have you go out to the further aid station, which tacks on basically about another mile. So getting up was fairly easy, since I got up early the previous days. So that was pretty good. And I basically had a plan to just start based on heart rate. And it was an enjoyable day for me, because me and Megan's mutual friend Rachel was out there doing her first marathon, and I like wanted to cheer her on while doing my own race, because like I feel like that's a really important milestone, especially, you know, kind of like putting yourself out there for the first time. It's just like no easy feat to kind of just make that jump from like the half marathon to the full. That's doubling your distance. So we went out, and it was just like, and Leah can attest to this, it was such fantastic weather. Like you really couldn't ask for much better at like the beginning of August. Like it was what, like upper 50s, low 60s to start, and it only got up to like the 70s or something. So, and it had a nice breeze, especially like on the second day. So when I went out, I was like, okay, temperature is good. I would turn around, and I'm kind of worried about like hitting the sunny spots. But then when you hit the sunny spots, you would get hit with this breeze, and it was like pretty nice. So I went off of heart rate, and I met a guy named Joe, and we were with like the half marathoners for a while. We did like the tunnel detour road, which brings me a lot of smiles in one direction and not a lot in the opposite direction. Because I do like hills, and I do like the refresher that it lets your legs feel off of a rail trail. But it is a tough detour, and it can slow you down. So the half marathoners just go a little bit past that detour, and then just like everybody was gone. And it was just me and this guy, Joe. And he was so great to like, he was keeping kind of like the same pace. And sometimes he would talk, sometimes he would be silent, and we just kind of like be there with each other. But like one of the greatest things about actually doing like one of those distances that day are the people that are coming back. So because the other distances, the 100K and the 100 miler start the previous day, they're all heading towards Belleville while you're heading out. So you get to give them your energy like as you go along, and you get to cheer these people on, and like, you know, they're within like 10 miles of the finish when you see them. And so you just sit there and you like encourage them. And for me, that I feel like is really exciting. I don't know, it's probably not as exciting to them because I got a lot of grumpy faces. But I actually did see the athlete that I was coaching, Melissa. She was in the final 10 miles, and I got to give her a hug like mid-race, and that like felt so special to me, like to actually give like encouragement right there. And then she ended up finishing before I got to finish. I tried rushing back, but I didn't think I was gonna make it. It's gonna be close. So you don't know, like my thing is I wasn't in it to really be competitive with anybody else. I was in it to try to beat my PR first and foremost. And then I set a secondary goal of overall time, just because it was a longer race. It was like, okay, so I have this marathon PR. If I don't get this, maybe I can do like this time for like the whole race. So I get out, and you actually start figuring out where you are in position, because all of the people coming back when they've turned around. So in that moment, I'm like looking at people's bibs. I'm like, okay, these are 50K people. This is a marathon person, and you can kind of like separate them in your mind. And I get closer and closer to that turnaround, and I'm like, I haven't seen any females like at all. I'm like, oh no. And I'm like trying not to freak out, and like I'm keeping with this heart rate. I'm just like, I have to stick to this. I'm like trying to stay focused. And I know there was only 2 aid stations heading out to the final one. So there are, 5 aid stations for the whole marathon, which is kind of tough, as Leah mentioned, like saying there is 1 aid station for your 11 miles. And I'm like, yeah, I feel that because it was kind of tough. And was trying to be very minimal, which I never do. Like I only had a handheld, like I don't know what I'm doing. And I get to the turnaround, there's only one female that had passed me, and she's probably almost a mile in front of me at the time. And I was like, okay, that's fine. I can just like chill here. And I saw Rachel, and it was fantastic, like cheering her on too. And then Elizabeth was at the turnaround. I think she was with Arturo, and they were like screaming out of their cars. They were going to hit me on like the road trying to cross to the aid station. That was like great energy. Like I absolutely loved it.
Aww.
I was like, I have no idea why you're here, but hello.
Aww.
So I love that. I love that moment. That really kept me going. And she like probably got a picture of me going into the bathroom, so I had to go pee. But whatever. So I hit that up. I turned around, came back to Hollywood, which was like fantastic energy, just like because I'd been there the day before. I was trying to help out and stuff in various places wherever I was, and it was the same exact energy, like 24 hours later almost, just the same energy, the same kinds of smiles that you would have expected. And so I came through there, and my husband was there because there was crew to be allowed there. And I was like, well, if there's crew there, why not have it, you know? And he brought me some tailwind, and that filled up my water bottles on my way. And I hit some low spots like I usually do, like mile 18 to 20. And I was like, oh, this is hard, you know, and I'm still trying to keep up with the heart rate. The pace thing is just out the window. I'm just staying focused in my game. I get to like the road detour again. I was like, I have to go up this more up and down the second time. And it's just more exposed, and you know, the breeze wasn't with me that time. And I get up to like the top of this hill right before you come down into the last aid station. And I remember seeing the first female had a vest on about like, you know, this color, a little bit bluer, and she had her bib on her back, and I saw her literally like a tenth of a mile in front of me, and I was like, oh no. And I was like, this is downhill, I can chase her down. So I start like picking it up because it's like downhill. I love downhill, like it's fantastic downhill. I don't know if Leah's legs like that the second time around.
Absolutely not. I could barely go down it.
Yeah, it's pretty steep. So I'm heading there, but like I am so out of salt that I'm like, just salt is everywhere except in me. I had to stop at that aid station. I saw she skipped it, and I was just like, okay, well, I have to get it in me. I took like 2 salt chews, and then stuck whatever electrolyte was in my bottle and just like went on my way. And I was like, okay, you know, it doesn't matter. Like, it doesn't matter if I'm first, it doesn't matter if I'm second. I'm like really happy with how I'm doing. So now I start like focusing, like I'm really close to like the 26-mile mark at this point. I'm like, okay, let's do some math, which never works out when you're stressed out or tired. I was like, what do I need to do to hit my PR? And I was like looking, and I accidentally messed up an entire mile. I thought I had less than a mile when I had a mile and a half. And I was like, oh no. So I have to like try to go a little bit faster. So I'm like picking it up a bit, and I catch up to her again. And she's kind of like with me for like a good 5 minutes. I felt like right behind me. And I'm trying not to like look back, like I'm, you know, being obvious or something. But then all of a sudden she wasn't behind me. And then there was a 50K person that was behind me. And I just kept looking at my watch. I'm like, I need to stay focused. I need to stay focused on the goal, stay even, just run your race. And I actually like, that was like, I almost broke down crying when I hit my PR. I didn't even care what kind of PR it was. It was like a few minutes. I don't really care. But like, I was just like shaking that like, I actually did it. I actually got my PR, and like nothing else mattered in the entire world. So I was just like really happy. I really did not think that I could do it. And that was just like my moment. And I was like by myself, and it didn't matter. And then I just like, okay, well, I have a mile to go. It's just a mile. Anyone can do a mile. It's just, you know, break it down, just 1 mile. So I came in, and finally I like got to the bench that I tell Leah about. I told everybody about like my little bench outside of Belleville. And I actually ended up looking back, and there was nobody there. Like you could see pretty far down the trail. And I came in and I saw Megan at the finish. She was like waking up probably from her hammock nap. And I came in and I actually got under my time goal. I squeaked under the little time goal. I got my PR and I was just very happy. So that's how my race went. And then I just collapsed in a chair and checked on social media for, updates. And like Kim posted this one picture, like there's 7 miles left. And like, I just kept checking this picture to see where Leah was, because I like, maybe she'll update like her picture. Like for some reason, I was just like, trying to, like, I like hadn't had it. I got first and I just was in disbelief. So I just like focused on Leah for whatever reason. And so that's about how my day went.
Yeah, I saw the picture of you at the finish line where you're sitting down and high-fiving Leah as she crossed the finish line. I believe, or maybe it was afterwards.
It was my friend Rachel.
Oh, okay. Oh, yeah,
I
that's
hadn't
right.
sat down yet. I know Rachel wasn't that far behind me. She did so well. Seeing someone cross the finish line and all smiles, and her family was there, and it was just like a really good time.
Yeah, and Rachel got she took third for her first marathon. She took third, and then immediately one of her friends handed her a tall boy of beer, and she shotgunned it. So this girl needs to run ultras.
Yeah.
I keep saying, like, I was, posting these very nice, ultra running meme quality content on her wall, while she was tapering, just so, she could have it in her mind. Just, it's not that far.
That's the real reason why we're excited that she did her marathon, is because it's one step closer to that ultra distance.
Well, we have to steal her from the triathlon world too, because she's big into tries. I think she's done a couple 70.3s. So we got to take her from the bike and swimming.
Road run, does she?
Well, and she will be pacing me for Tunnel Hill in November. So she did finish the marathon and say, "Okay, I think I'm ready to pace you." We're gonna get her.
I should ask her to help pace me.
You should.
I should.
Well, that's all fantastic. And do you want to share, Steph, what you're training for next?
So this is kind of in like preparation for the Ice Age Trail 50 miler, which I've never done a proper 50 miler. So I figure, now's a pretty good time, and they will never have the Ice Age Trail 50 in the fall again. So I was like, this is my shot. This is my time to do it. So I'm working on that. So just kind of like an easy week for me, and then I'm going to ramp it back up just to be sure.
Well, it sounds like you're ready.
In a little bit. Need some more hills.
Oh, you should share about your race this weekend. You were out.
Yeah.
I know you, after winning a marathon, you were out working today.
Yeah, I think I logged about 9 miles today. Trying to go over like the Arbor Ridge course for this weekend, just kind of making sure that it's optimized, because I had like really good ideas going into it, but then I needed to like solidify it and pull it together, and I was going to do that today, so I did. So I wanted to do the exact course, and I had like my Garmin on, I had even Strava on. I wanted like all the distances to kind of make sure that I had everything as close to right as possible, because I know my Garmin can be funky sometimes. Like Megan knows that. I don't know. I think I have something around me that makes Garmin go slow for whatever reason. So, and now it just gives me like extra gain for sitting around. But so I had Strava going, and I got the courses all to go through the creek crossing. So that's great. And I got through a little bit of prairie, and all of the distances will have the opportunity to go up power lines, which is my favorite section now. So if you're doing the race and you're on power lines, don't forget to look behind you because it's like fantastic views.
Yeah, it looks like such a crazy hill. I love the pictures of it. I'm really excited to go do that.
Yeah, it's a crazy hill. So the people who work there gave me a tour, and they said that they have people who will just come specifically to that hill to do hill repeats on it. It's training for like Appalachian Trail through hikes. So I thought that was like really cool.
Yeah, so you can go to the Arbor Ridge Trail Race Facebook page, and Steph has posted some really great pictures in the last week or so. Is there any spots left open?
I believe registration closed, but I think we're very, very close to the cap as it is. So I guess if anybody wants in,
Yeah.
you know, let me know. But yeah, it's coming up. We do still need a few more volunteers though. So that would be like really useful. And it's not that long of a race. So like, you know, you get up in the morning, you'll be back in the afternoon. It's not too long.
And what are the distances?
You know, 3 miles, 5 miles, and 10 miles.
And this is an Ornery Mule race that you can get your run your ass off. It works towards your run your ass off buckle, although not the 3 mile. You have to do the run your ass off buckle. You have to do 5 mile or longer. So does anyone else have anything to share, or should we that we didn't cover?
Oh, Leah. Do you remember what was in your, what was it, the motivational egg? What was it, the egg? The
Emotional support egg.
The emotional support egg. So the way the course worked was you start in Belleville, you go 50K down to Orangeville, or sorry, if you're doing, sorry, that's 100K. You do that out and back. For the 100 mile, you start in Orangeville, and then you go up to Belleville, and you go past Belleville to Dot's Diner. And there is a friend of mine there, Suzanne, who was giving out emotional support eggs to everybody who reached there. And she said, when you get this egg, you know, open it when you need it. So what did your egg say?
I opened it, I think, at mile 70. So does Megan remember? I was so tired at that point.
It was, I heard you read it, and it was a motivational quote. And I think even it was a motivational quote that, and I guess I don't know if you had opened it more than once or if it's just a coincidence, because I think.
No, I just opened it then with you.
Yeah. So I feel like whatever it said, it was something that you had said to yourself already, like on our hike, but I don't remember what the quote was.
I think it was something like, there are going to be days where you can't do this. Today is not that day. And I was like there's going to be a day in the future where you aren't able to run or aren't able to do things like this, and today's not that day. And I hit that at sometime in the middle of the morning. So technically that was Sunday, not on Saturday when I received it in the middle of the afternoon on Saturday. When you go through that, I think very awful 4 mile and then 4.5 mile out and back to Dots. I enjoyed the actual aid station and stuff, and getting the egg, but the out and back, that's really hard. It was really hot in the middle of the day. On the Saturday, it was like 80 something. Sunday was a lot cooler. I don't think it hit 80, but it was at least 82 or 80, somewhere between 82 and 85 on Saturday. And so when I got that egg, it was on Sunday morning, and I loved what I read because I knew that it was that Sunday, and I knew today was not the day. That meant I had to keep going. So it was definitely what I needed in that moment, which is awesome.
That's great. Well, thank you, everyone. And thank you. I mean, we had a big audience. Obviously, you guys have a great fan club that tuned in to see you. And it was really awesome to get to spend the weekend with all of you. And great weather, and congratulations.
All right. Thank you.
Thanks for having us.
Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah.
It was fun.
Yeah, because we need to give a big shout out to Michelle, who basically ran the Monroe Aid Station from opening
Exactly.
to close.
Yeah.
And that's just a very long time. It's almost like
Yep.
the whole entire extent of the race.
Yeah.
Well, because this is such a big difference distances. If you have a race that's, you know, a 10K or a half marathon or a full, you know, it's a half a day or a day, you know, even with the 50 milers. But when you start putting on 50 milers and 100Ks and 100 milers, as you get into those distances, they don't end in one day, or if they do, they end in the nighttime of the one day. So you're there a day and a half to 2+ days, and that's what really gets difficult. So every time I saw Michelle, super happy, super motivational, so amazing. And that was, I mean, when I saw you, I was like, woo, okay, this is the point where at 80, let's go. So absolutely, thank you for what you did all weekend.
I think that 8
Yay.
is a really tough spot on the race course. So we were really happy. We did not have that many people drop at our aid station.
Good.
Maybe because it was light.
Yeah. Yeah,
Well,
and we should shout out for my husband, who he lit up the aid. He brought all kinds of Christmas lights. He put up he brought lots of chairs for people to sit, take little naps in. He cooked these delicious like pulled chicken sandwiches with barbecue sauce, and I was the master burrito maker, breakfast burrito maker, and
That was amazing.
yeah. So yeah, really super fun. It was relaxing for me. It was a long time to be up, but I got to sleep last night, and that was fun. Okay, well, thank you, everyone. I'll see you all hopefully this weekend at Arbor Ridge. I'm looking forward to it.
All right. Thank you. Good night.
Bye, everyone.
Night.
Good night.
Bye.
Bye.